Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Brian's Horror Corner, or welcome if you're new to my channel. Either way, make sure you hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, so you don't miss any of my great horror content, including upcoming reviews for this 1980s series. It also would help me out. With that being said, the movie we're going to take a look at today from 1981 is actually the third leg of a trilogy, the Gates of Hell trilogy by Lucio Fulci. I reviewed City of the Living Dead as part of 1980 last year for this overall series. And then earlier in this, for 1981, a couple months ago, I reviewed The Beyond, which I absolutely loved. I love both of those movies, just basically raved about them. Today, we're going to take a look at the third leg of that Gates of Hell trilogy, which is House by the Cemetery from 1981, which I have on a widescreen edition DVD. This is a 2000 DVD release from Diamond Entertainment. I'm definitely going to be looking to upgrade this for two reasons. One, I do like this movie, and it's worth upgrading to Blu-ray. And two, I have my other two Gates of Hell movies on Blu-ray, and this doesn't. This is pretty bare bones. It doesn't have any special features on it, really. So, anyway, with that being said, let's go ahead and get into House by the Cemetery from 1981. House by the Cemetery is a 1981 Italian supernatural slasher film directed by Lucio Fulci, co-written by Dardano Sacchetti and Gigio Marizo. The third and final installment in Fulci's Gates of Hell trilogy, preceded by City of the Living Dead and the Beyond. The plot revolves around a series of murders committed by a ghoulish and demonic serial killer, taking place in a Massachusetts home that happens to be hiding a gruesome secret within its basement walls. So, the movie opens with a woman who's looking for her boyfriend in an abandoned house. After discovering his body stabbed with scissors, she is killed with a French knife and dragged through a cellar door by a monstrous figure. Meanwhile, Bob Boyle and his parents, Norman and Lucy, move into a house in New Whitby, Massachusetts. Norman's ex-colleague, Dr. Peterson, who murdered his mistress before committing suicide, was the previous owner. The Boyles are to stay there while Norman researches old houses. As his mother packs, Bob notices a photograph of a house in which a girl is standing at the window with a fearful expression. In New Whitby, Boston, Bob waits in his parents' car while they collect the house keys. The girl from the photograph, May Freudstein, appears across the street and warns him to stay away. Only Bob can see her. In the real estate office, Mrs. Laura Gittleson is annoyed with her colleague when her colleague hands the couple the Freudstein keys. She insists it's called Oak Mansion and promises to find the Boyles a babysitter. Oak Mansion is in a poor state of repair. The cellar door is locked and nailed shut. A woman arrives and introduces herself as Anne, the babysitter. That night, Norman hears noises and finds Anne unlocking the cellar door. So yeah, that's sort of the setup, the premise, the beginning of House by the Cemetery. As far as the cast goes, we have returning Katerina McCall, or Catherine McCall, if you will, who's in all three of these Gates of Hell movies. She plays Lucy Boyle in this movie. Paolo Malco is Dr. Norman Boyle. Uh, Ania Perina is Anne, the babysitter. Giovanni Frezza is Bob Boyle. Sylvia Calantina is May Freudstein. And Dagmar Lysander is Lauren Gittleson. Yeah. So that's the setup, the premise, and the cast for the 1981 Lucio Fulci movie House by the Cemetery. I enjoyed this movie. Like I said, I am going to be upgrading it to Blu-ray, both because I think it's a good, solid horror movie, and like I said, I have the other two on Blu-ray, so I want all three on Blu-ray. It doesn't. This movie doesn't quite impact me or have the same impact for me as City of the Living Dead or The Beyond. I think it is the lesser of the three. But that being said, it's certainly not a bad horror movie, and there's lots that I like about this movie. So let's just go ahead and get into it. Starting with the pros, I think the movie has a great atmosphere and moodiness to it that really kept me engaged throughout. I found it to be really enjoyable. Just it's kind of hard to describe, but just the aesthetic, the atmosphere in this movie. Um, It kind of has a creepy vibes going on to it, so that I really enjoyed. I really like the look and the setting of this house, kind of being out in this woods with the cemetery close by. That's just a great horror formula, a great horror recipe, I should say. Um, but yeah, it's kind of out in this woodsy, out in the middle of nowhere setting. The house looks great. It looks creepy. There's several shots on the house, both at the beginning of the movie and at the end, that are really good and dramatic. So that's one aspect that I really enjoyed. I think the movie looks great, of course, as you would come to expect visually by Fulci. It's well shot. There's terrific cinematography in this movie, and that was me watching the DVD. I've heard the transfer is even better for the Blu-ray, so I'm looking forward to that. The Blu-ray from Blue Underground from 2019, I think it was released, is what I'm looking to upgrade to. As I said, this DVD is just a 2000 Diamond Edition release, so or Diamond Entertainment, I should say. But yeah, it still looks great. Great kills in this movie. You can always count on Lucio Fulci to have really excellent kills. The kills are bloody and gory, of course. There's plenty of that. Very, very fun and satisfying gore. A great practical gore effects, again, as we've come to know with Fulci. Um, I especially love the opening scene where the girlfriend is calling out, looking for her boyfriend in the abandoned house, and he kind of comes out looking like a zombie. And I don't know if that was on purpose because some of Fulci's previous movies have to do with zombies, or if that was just the way he looked because of he was obviously stabbed and roughed up pretty good. But then the kill of this girlfriend too, she gets this like machete knife, French knife, right through the back of the head that comes out her mouth. That was just a great kill. And then I also really enjoy the bat scene specifically, which is a very gory scene that, admittedly, probably does go on about a minute or two longer than it needed to, but it ends up. It basically bites one of these characters on the hand and will not let go, and the character has to stab it, and so there's just blood everywhere. It's a very intense scene as well. So yeah, if you're somebody that's tuning in for the kills and the gore and all the Fucci greatness in that regard, there's another scene where um, sort of our bad guy or the killer, whatever you want to say, gets stabbed, and you get all the mucus and maggots that come out, and it's just not really. It's pretty gross, actually, but it's just so typical Fulci. I really enjoy that aspect. And then, of course, I can't mention this movie without talking about the score. I mean, the score is fantastic for this movie. I think that's the one thing about all Italian cinema. You can say they always have really effective, excellent scores and musical cues, and this movie's no different. Um, I forget who did the score for this movie, but it was different. It was a different person than who did the score in the first two Gates of Hell trilogy movies. But yeah, really effective score that just works for this movie. And then I thought there were some pretty good suspenseful scenes, some decent scares in this movie. Um, you have one suspenseful scene where people are trying to get out of the basement. The boy, Bob, is trying to get out, and the Dr. Freudstein is coming towards him, and the door, of course, he can't get out, and his mom and dad are trying to get him out on the other side. That was a very suspenseful, effective scene, although it did go on a bit long. But yeah, I don't know. I just thought the movie was well done in that regard. So those are my pros for House by the Cemetery from 1981. As far as cons go, there are quite a few mystery points that they set up and never really revisit or pay off. The best example would be when they get to this town, the dad, Norman, seems to be resembling somebody else that everybody in town recognizes him and has seen before, even though, he basically tells everybody, I've never been here before. You're mistaking me for somebody else. So you're thinking that maybe there's like a doppelganger or something, but that's never explored or never paid off. Um, there's other things like having to do with the babysitter. Like there's one kill that happens in the house, and she's cleaning up the blood spot on the floor and not really explaining why. Just saying that I made coffee. But then she gets her head. So then maybe I'm thinking, okay, she's part of this whole thing. But then she gets her head lopped off down in the basement a couple of scenes later. So that was weird. Yeah, I don't know. They just set up things as part of the mystery that they never really pay off or doesn't go anywhere. The ending kind of left me confused and underwhelmed, to be honest with you. Not the twist having to do with Dr. Freudstein so much, but like the very end of the movie, as one of our characters is walking away with two other characters that are thought to be dead. I think they are dead. They're like ghosts. I don't know. That just left me underwhelmed, almost like they were just looking for a way to end the movie. Is kind of how it felt like to me. So I wasn't a big fan of that. The voice dubbing we got to talk about. That's one thing about these movies when they try to put it. And this movie was actually, even though it's an Italian horror movie, my understanding is they actually, like the actors actually spoke in English, but because their accents were so thick and they still dubbed them in English. So they had English speaking actors that were dubbed in English, which is really weird to me. And the worst of it is the character of Bob. And I think this is a lot of the reason, not the whole reason why people don't like Bob in this movie, that he's a negative for a lot of people is the dubbing more than anything because it's clearly a middle-aged woman that's trying to sound like an 8, 9, 10 year old boy, whatever he is, and it's terrible. It's one of the worst dubbed characters in any horror movie or any movies period from a foreign film that I can think of. um I don't know why they didn't just go with. I realized the accents were going to be thick, and this took place in America, so you wanted to have American accents. I kind of get that, but man, couldn't have you found somebody else better to dub this young boy? Couldn't have you actually found a kid that could have done it? I don't know. I just think there was a better way, and it does stand out as a big negative. And on that point, there is Bob, and Bob is not. Excuse me, is not a favorite character of a lot of people in this movie. In fact, he's the biggest negative in this movie for a lot of people. I wouldn't say he's the biggest negative. I've seen worse kids. It does kind of feel like they picked an actor based on cuteness and sort of having a different looking look to him than a lot of other kid actors or characters. Um, that didn't bother me so much. It was mostly the dubbing and the voice. But I can understand some of the annoyance. Um, but like I said, it's mostly the dubbing for me. It's the voice as opposed to the look or the face of him. I don't really think that's. Although I can see why people point that out because he does sort of have a weird and different kind of look than what you might expect. And then my final con, and it's kind of more of a nitpick, but the exposition that our main character is researching and finds out, Dr. Norman Boyle, is all done off screen. So then, as they're trying to rescue their son from the basement, he's trying to explain it through chops and uh, he's taking an axe to the door to try to get through it because it's locked. And that just kind of felt cheap to me. I mean, I know I'm a big stickler for exposition dumps, but learning all this stuff off screen and not really having to explain it felt a little bit like lazy storytelling to me. I think the biggest thing about this movie is it's just kind of choppy. I don't think it's quite as well put together, quite as tight as the first two movies in this trilogy by Lucio Fulci, the Gates of Hell trilogy. That being said, this is still a really fun movie. Um, oh, I also wanted to mention the look of the killer, which you can see on the back here. Um, I I was mixed on it. It's fine. I mean, I didn't think it was the most creative look of the killer, especially the way they were setting it up and not showing them until the very end of the movie. I thought there could have been a little bit a better look there, a little bit more creepier look, but it's not the worst thing I've ever seen either. I know some other people really had more of a problem with it, but I'm going to give this movie a 7.5 out of 10. It definitely is better than it isn't. I am going to upgrade it to Blu-ray. It's just that it's the third of the three films in this trilogy. That doesn't make it bad, though. 7.5 out of 10 for House by the Cemetery. Go ahead and comment down below what you guys think of this movie. Is it the least of these three movies for you, or do you disagree? Do you like this one more than I do? Comment down below. Please like this video, hit the little notification bell, and subscribe to my channel, as I mentioned earlier, to help me out and also so you don't miss any of the great horror content that you'll find on YouTube. With all that being said, I hope you guys are enjoying this 1980s overall review series. Hope you're doing well, and as always, though, stay scared. Bye.